What's up YouTube? This is going to be our guide on how to use Suicune in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy these, if they help you out, drop a like on the video and let's get into it. So our first set here is going to be a Calm Mind bulky boosting set. Now with Suicune's massive health stat and defensive stat, and a good special defensive stat as well, it can absolutely pull this off nicely, whether you're running singles or doubles. So the abilities it has is Pressure and Inner Focus, and it's only a water type Pokemon. So it has very, very few counters, which is good for a bulky Pokemon. And it could be a nice bulky sweeper too. That's its, I guess you could say it's bread and butter. So let's check this out. So it does get Calm Mind, which is an excellent move on a defensive Pokemon. And it's very, very good at increasing its special defense and special attack at the same time and remaining bulky on the defensive side too. And with such a good base health stat, it can tank a lot of moves, boost its stats, and then reverse sweep, basically. It's very good for that. So Rest and Calm Mind, it's got a way of resting off with... which is great with Chesto Berry. There's kind of multiple ways you can run a Calm Mind Suicune. There's different variants. So I'm just going to show you all of them and explain, the pros and cons of all of them and stuff like that. Okay, so this Calm Mind set with Rest, you got to take up 2 moveset slots. So that's probably a little bit of a bad thing there. So you've only really got 2 attacking moves. But the positives of it is you can heal yourself up straight away, any status, because Suicune doesn't like status moves at all, especially things like Toxic, right? It's either got to heal them off or hide behind, say, a substitute, so it can do sort of 2 roles there. So we've got Resto Chesto Berry, and then we've got Calm Mind. Scald is very good on it. Scald not only is 80 base power, it also has a chance to burn physical attackers too, so while you're not boosting up your special defense, you might have a Pokemon that might try and set up Sword Dance in front of you or something like that. If you pop a burn on them, they're cooked, right? So they're going to have to try and just do some damage to you or swap into another Pokemon, right? So Scald, I like Ice Beam on there because Ice Beam gives the best coverage overall. And even a water type, you can still fire off, an Ice Beam at them or something like that. It's still going to do some decent damage. So I reckon Scald and Ice Beam give it the 2 best coverage moves, if you've got 2 moves to pick from, right? If you've got another one, then you can give it another coverage move. It's difficult with Suicune. Generally, especially most single sets with Suicune, you'll find it's got 2 setup moves or 2 status moves, and then either Scald or Ice Beam. You can run other things like maybe Shadow Ball or something like that on there. It's okay. It's more of just a coverage move, really. It's not really designed for hitting ghost type Pokemon and such like that. It's more of a coverage move, so you can hit, say, opposing water type Pokemon for neutral damage. But even when you're very boosted up, you can do a lot of damage there with its normal stab and stuff like that. I've just let this at Terra Water. You could do a couple of things with that too. So I'll explain some different Terras for this set. So EVs we got as max health and max defense. Very, very good on Suicune. And then last bit in special defense, Bold Nature. So it's got a fat defensive stat and a fat health stat. So it's going to be living really, really well. It's going to be able to tank a lot of those hits. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to run this style of set and you don't think rest is necessary, you can have other options to that too, which I'll show in a sec. So some Terras here. You've got Water. Another good one is, I would say Fairy. Even though you don't have any Fairy moves, it's good as a defensive Terra type because it's not weak to a lot of things as well. And I think it's sort of like Water. It's not very weak to many things at all. So you can kind of handle that. You could go Hyper, trying to counter Toxic and stuff with Poison, but it's good. Say you're weak to ground. If a ground type tries to come in, you've got Scald or Ice Beam. That's good, but On the flip side, then you start opening yourself up to psychic types. And there's some very, very powerful special attacking psychic types out there. So that might not be so good if you haven't got many calm minds up. So I'd say I'll go with water. Water or fairy, I would personally go with there. If you've got any other types you reckon work, go for it. Let me know. So alternatively, what you can do if you don't want rest, you can do sub. So like a sub calm mindset. And you can get a swap with Suicune generally. More so in singles, not so much in doubles. And if you swap it into a ground type Pokemon, generally you can get a swap. You can go for a sub and then you can start calm minding behind the sub. Now that way you can probably get rid of Chestoberry because you don't have rest and give it something like Leftovers, which is definitely going to be useful on. And you can just keep the same set, virtually same sort of EVs, everything like that. That's another way of running it, the rest versus substitute thing, kind of. So that's our first set. Let's check out our next one. Okay, so there's one more sort of way of running Suicune before we get some doubles and stuff like that, is Rest Talk. Now, this set is really, really heavy on the status moves, and you're going to get very walled easily. So if you were to run a set like this, you need to have something to get around Pokemon, say, with Water Absorb, or just, general, Pokemon to get around other opposing water types, So just keep that one in mind. So this one has got everything. So it's got Rest and Sleep Talk, so it can attack while it's asleep, and it's got Calm Mind as well to boost while it's asleep, and Scald. So you're just going to be this big, bulky tank and just boosting your stats and spraying off Skull, spreading burns around. I mean, if you've got the right sort of situation where you've taken out the Pokemon, say Water Absorb, or any Pokemon that's like real tanky grass type Pokemon, this generally will sweep through the team. But it obviously has its counters, so you'd need to build your team around that to try. You need a powerful fire type and electric type Pokemon to kind of back it up. Leftovers, Pressure, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Max Health, Max Defense, Impish Nature. Let me change that to Bold. I don't know why that's Impish for. Bold Nature. Same kind of thing as the other set, but you're sort of loading on the status move. It's good with the fact that you can do something while you're asleep, but it's bad that you've got a lot of status moves. That's the sort of the negatives and positives of this set. Let's have a look at some doubles now. Okay, so Suicune can run a lot differently in doubles for sure than singles. Suicune doesn't really have the time to be setting up Calm Minds if you want to use it in doubles. I'm not saying it's definitely not the greatest doubles Pokemon out there, but I would use it very, very differently in doubles because one, you don't have the time to set all those Calm Minds up. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get completely destroyed. So I would use it as a support Pokemon, and it's got some good bulk, and it actually gets some really good support moves. So let's check out this set. It's obviously a lot more complicated in EVs and stuff like that. So ability, we're going to run Inner Focus this time only because we don't want to be flinched, right? So too many fake out users and flinching moves, and it's quite a slow Pokemon, and you don't run speed in it anyway. There's no point. So we have got Tailwind. It's an excellent move in doubles, and Suicune's bulky enough to set it up. So Tailwind is going to give you some really good speed. And even Suicune itself will be able to outspeed a lot of stuff after a Tailwind being up there. It's got base 85, so that's actually enough for it to outspeed a lot of Pokemon after a single Tailwind. If that's not enough, if there's a lot of choice Scarf users around, you've got Icy Wind, which is a great move in doubles that can drop the speed of both the opponents. I kept Scald in there because Scald is very good just for a stab water type move, spreading any burns, and also Helping Hand as well. So it can get that Helping Hand off on an ally. So obviously you'd run this Suicune with a hyper offensive Pokemon, right? That's going to be very, very useful to have, speed drops, speed increases, boosts in offensive damage, 1.5 times boost, and having burns and stuff like that spread throughout it. So that's pretty straightforward. EVs, we're going to go 252 in health still, but we're going to go 136 in defense and 108 in special defense with Bold Nature. Now, this gives it pretty good optimization in its EVs and all-round bulk as well, I feel. So it's very defensive, and it's also very special defensive as well. So I feel like this sort of all-round bulk works well on Suicune, rather than, say, will max its defense, you know, and then its special defense is garbage when it gets hit by, you know, a special move. At least with this, it can tank a special move reasonably well. I gave it Scissors Berry because I believe that's the best item for this sort of set here, because you're not going to have time to set up rest and stuff like that. So a quick boost of health there at half, you know, a quarter health recovery when you're at half health while you're supporting a partner is going to be good and useful. Terra type, Fairy, I'd go straight with Fairy or Water, or just keep it at Water. I probably wouldn't even Terra this Pokemon, to be honest. This build, no point. You know, there's going to be a better Pokemon on your team for sure. Unless there's something that comes in with like the spamming Dragon type moves, and then you could go Terra Fairy. That could be useful, but all you needed Tailwind up and this, you know, that sort of thing. But outside of that, I don't really see it being that useful for at least for a Terra. Terra type usage is very, very low on this sort of build. Let's check out our next set, which is a bit of a troll build, actually. All right, have a look at this beauty. So I try to do something a bit different with this one. Obviously, it's gimmicky, I know that, but I wanted to try something different. And I actually have used this before, and it can get some surprise KOs. And I think I've got like 2 KOs out of this, or maybe even 3. So we've got max health, max defense EV, so we're sort of defensively bulky, which is fine because we're carrying an assault vest. So that's going to give this Suicune like incredible bulk on both sides. You know, they'll sort of probably be wondering what you've got for EVs and stuff. So we've got Scald on there, which is fine. It actually gets Sheer Coal, which is really cool. We got Mirror Coat on there too. So say a Miraidon comes in, I want to say not a Specs Miraidon, and uses Volt Switch. You can live those Volt Switch with this build. Not Choice Specs though. You can live it super badly, and then you can get a Mirror Coat off, or anything just with maybe Miraidon's a bit of an extreme example. Something that's probably not as potent as that, as high special attack is what I mean. You could get some Mirror Coat KOs off there, or any like energy balls and stuff like that. You could get a surprise KO back of them. And then maybe you could pop a Sheer Cold off and finish your Pokemon off too. It actually also gets Extreme Speed, which is kind of funny. So if you had a Pokemon, any of those Focus Sash Pokemon, you know, Chi and Pow and things like that, you could just come in and go boop with Extreme Speed, finish them off. And you might be able to confuse the opponent too as to what set you're running. Is it physical? Is it special? Like, what is it? So a little bit of a like how would I put this? Unorthodox set to surprise the opponent. All based around surprise and extreme bulk. I gave this Terra Grass more for defensive. You could give it Terra Ice if you want to make the most out of Sheer Cold. That could be useful too. That could be useful for more, so a little bit more accuracy. And then you could have, yeah, you go Grass or Fairy as well. That could work. I'd go like really defensive types in this, I would say. So that way with Terra Grass, at least Electric would be not very effective. And then Grass would not be very effective. So Grass is a very, very good defensive type on Kyogre, Suicune as well. Sorry, I'm talking about water type legendaries and stuff. So you could, matter of fact, you could run Grass on this one here too. Now that I think about, Grass would work well on that too. So that would be fine. And then, you know, if a flying type comes in, well, you've still got an ice type move on one of those or both of these. So that's another way of running Suicune, but I know it's a little bit gimmicky. Well, a fair bit gimmicky, but it's more based around surprise. And I feel like Suicune isn't going to be used very much in doubles anyway. So it could be a surprise set for sure. Let's check out some couple more gimmicky sets, or we got next. It's kind of interesting, and then we've got some team builds, counters and team builds, and some other thoughts. Okay, so this set here is also made for double. So we're going to put this one on Ice Team or Snow Team, whatever you want to call the mechanic now. It's swapped multiple times. So this is going to be Terra type Ice, and I thought, oh, well, why not have a Blizzard set with Tailwind? That might be able to work because, I don't know, I'm trying to carve out a niche for it here. So let's say you've got other Pokemon that are sweeping, Blizzard sweeping Pokemon, say Alola Ninetales. Let's use that. All right, this has actually got more bulk than Alola Ninetales. and it can set up Tailwind as well. So that sort of carves a niche out of it that increases speed rather than making it... I'm not saying that Alolan Artiles would be less bulky with a Veil up, though. I just thought I'd add that in there. But this sort of carves a bit of a different niche out for it. So say you've got... you might work on a Ninetales team, right? So you could get that... maybe a Ninetales up, and then you could have this with it as well. So this could be setting up Tailwind. Ninetales could set up the Veil, and then you could both spam Blizzard. And then it's also got a Hydro Pump and Snarl on top of there too, with Throat Spray to try and increase its special attack. It actually has 90 in special attack, which by no means is absolutely overpowered or anything, but it's still reasonable. And with a +1, the Hydro Pump and Blizzard's going to be hitting pretty hard. And it's going to be kind of nice. I gave this one a bit of bulk because it still needs some kind of bulk. So I gave it 152 in health and 104 in speed. With the Tailwind here, I've given it enough speed EVs to outspeed virtually everything that's not, I don't know, like a Regieleki or something like that. And I gave it modest nature. So that's going to be hitting as hard as possible. And Terra-type Ice for increased bulk and 100% Blizzards. And Inner Focus as the ability. It's actually kind of fun making these sets because I know that not many people will use this in doubles. In my opinion, I'm going to say this right now, Suicune is much better in singles than doubles. It's more of a singles Pokemon for its stats and the strategy. So I'll say that right now, for sure. Having used Suicune tons in singles and doubles and whatever rules you want to have, it's definitely a better singles Pokemon than doubles. That's just how some Pokemon are, you know. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. But that doesn't mean you can't try it out and try different things, right? So that's for a snow team there. Let's have a look at... we've got a PIMPNITE special here, and then we'll go over some teammates and some counters and some other thoughts. All right, let's have a look at this beauty. So we've got a speedy physical Suicune here. So we got that max health, max attack and max speed, adamant nature, and I've given it a Mystic Water. Now Mystic Water can actually be a good item on more competitive meta sets too. So that can boost up its water type by 1.2 times. You can actually run that on some of these other ones. I don't know if you want to run it over leftovers though, but maybe on more of a offensive set or something like that. Just thought I'd say that. So Trailblaze is a way of boosting its speed, which is pretty cool. And it's a grass type move too, so you can actually hit opposing water type Pokemon, which is interesting. It also gets Waterfall, so we're going to go for a flinching set here, as you've probably noticed with the moves I've got. So we've got Waterfall, Iron Head, and Bite. So Bite's got 30%, Iron Head's got 30%, and Waterfall's got 20%. So lots of flinching moves. I've used this before in some of my meme teams and stuff like that. And it has natural bulk and can take a few hits as well, even with the sweeping set. So it's got some reasonable speed after one Trailblaze too, which is pretty cool. And I gave it Terra-type Steel, so I thought from there you could spam an 80 base power move with the highest flinching chance, which would be pretty cool. So you've got that going for you. Lots of flinches, and I gave it Inner Focus, obviously, as well, being a physical attacking Suicune. So you could give it a try, a true PIMPNITE special there, a flinching Suicune. Could be lots of fun. And let's have a look at some counters and some teammates now. Okay, so speaking of some teammates, actually, let's do some counters first. So let's do a real broad sort of counter. Anything that's got Toxic is going to destroy Suicune, especially in singles, because you know those bulky sets, unless you've got Rest, it's going to get around. You know, the trick to that is either having a Substitute up that can get around from it, or if you don't have the Substitute up, or you get outsped is another thing. Because Suicune, compared to something like... I'll do two examples there. So, a slower Pokemon like, say, Toxapex may struggle to do anything to Suicune, and Suicune may set up on it. Because after a sub, you know, Toxapex is not going to be able to do much, you know, except from, like, maybe try and haze or something like that. So, substitute sets can get around that. It could be something faster, say... Let's do some hyper counters here. A Fezandipity I'm just picking out a random poison type here. Say if this poisoned a Suicune, that would be very, very bad. Because then the Suicune would be sort of on borrowed time then, you know. It'd get as many Calm Minds up and then die to Toxic. Toxic Spikes is another bad one for it as well. Like, definitely, Toxic Spikes would be bad. Any moves, anything like that would be very, very bad for Suicune, for sure. Like, a Clodsire, that'd be a good counter. So, Clodsire would be a nice counter for Suicune, for sure, with Water Absorb. That would really struggle. Unless Suicune had a significant amount of Calm Minds up. Definitely speaking about singles here for Ice Beam. In doubles, it would, counter it pretty well, you know. So, yeah, any Toxic sort of gets around that. Even just normal status like Will-O-Wisp would be annoying for it, because that kind of cancels out its leftovers, and it's just annoying. So it doesn't really get that recovery or anything like that. I was gonna say Galar, like Wheezing would be a good one, or Galar Wheezing. That'd be a nice Pokemon to counter it as well. Spreading poison and just being a pain. Real hard counters to it are stuff like electric Pokemon. Powerful special attackers here. Some powerful special attackers. How about Magnezone? I was just thinking, how about Magnezone? That'd be a good one. So Magnezone really, really counters Suicune for sure. Unless Suicune has a significant amount of Calm Minds up, it's just destroying it. Like, so it cannot take repeated Thunderbolts or anything. You'd be lucky to take one really on a choice spec. So any powerful, basically any power. Let's say any powerful special attackers. And you just can't, basically you just can't let it set up the Calm Minds. Any phasing Pokemon too that can get rid of Suicune. That have like say Whirlwind and stuff. Definitely for singles. This is more for singles. So any whirlwinding Pokemon, even Ting-Lu, something like this, could just whirlwind Suicune out as it starts to set them up. So that's some more singles kind of counters there. For doubles, this would be a nasty counter. So I'd say Archaludon would be a great counter for Suicune, because a lot of the time, most of the time, well, every single time, let's just be real, it's on a rain team, right? And its signature move is going to absolutely destroy Suicune if Suicune is there for Broad. So Electroshock, it's just going to drop it, right? So that's a good Pokemon, and it resists water too, you know, and ice is neutral to it, so it's not weak. It's not like weak to it. It's got that steel typing too. So that's a good one. Rillaboom is excellent. Even with Suicune's really, really good defense, it's going to be able to get rid of it. And it's going to be able to drop its speed too with, say, drum beating, or, you know, a powerful, it's running like a powerful wood hammer set. It's going to be in a lot of trouble. Plus, it can run Assault Vest as well and tank Suicune's Ice Beams. Pretty nice. That's another thing for sure. Special attackers. How about Raging Bolt? That'd be, now we're talking about, I was going to say Raikou, but Raging Bolt. So Raging Bolt will just destroy Suicune as well. So, yep. And it's got its Thunderclap to outspeed if it needs to as well. It's Suicune's running some speed and things like that. So, yep, there's some counters for it for sure there. For singles, I'd say Glimmora is quite a good Pokemon for Suicune. More on the fact that Toxic Spikes, when it sets up Toxic Spikes, whether it be actually setting them up itself or to Toxic Debris, I would say Toxic Debris is much better. Suicune loves like Toxic Spikes on the field because it's just set up all day, and then Toxic is weakening the opponent, then just bulky, like be a bulky sweeper mid to late game and get rid of all of that. Actually, Dragonite's pretty good as well now I think about it. So Dragonite would be a good Pokemon for Suicune too, a good partner Pokemon. They work pretty nicely together. So we got a bulky special attacker and you could say Dragonite is a bulky sweeper as well with multi-scale. So yeah, that could be a good Pokemon for sure. Also covers Dragonite's weakness quite nicely too. You can swap into those Ice Beams and Suicune can tank those pretty easily and such like that too. So that could be a really good sort of matchup for it as well. I'm trying to think of some other good. They're pretty good. You sort of get the idea where I'm going with that. Let's have a look at Suicune's moves here. Final look at its moves. So it actually gets a lot of similar moves to the other legendary beasts, of course. So Agility, Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep, Talk. This is definitely the best Rest, Sleep, Talk Pokemon out of all of them. It's got the stats for it, right? Especially for singles. Yeah, there's not a lot else here. It does get Snowscape and gets Sandstorm, which is interesting. It also gets Rain Dance. Maybe you want to try this. You might be able to squeeze this as a weather setting Pokemon. Maybe Terra Ice Snowscape or something. Niche like that. Special moves here. Yeah, it gets some interesting moves like Air Slash and stuff, but it's not really. It might be, oh, that's good for a grass type, but it isn't really. You might be able to do some like flinching set, like a speedy flinching set with Air Slash, Terra Flying, I don't know, or something like that. Extra Sentry doesn't really add a lot to the table either. We've got Ice Beam, we've got Scald, it's 2 main moves. Shadow Ball's like a filler move for sure. And then you've got Weather Ball for... You could try Weather Ball for a more powerful Weather Ball in like doubles and stuff like that. Like, you know, with Rain Dance, that could work too. That could be an option. Mirror Coat's interesting. You might be able to do like... Maybe you could do like an anti-Miraidon set with Focus Suicune with Mirror Coat. That could be interesting. Yeah, there's not too much. You might be able to make it into a trapping set with Whirlpool. In the past, I believe it got Toxic. So I don't know, but a lot of Pokemon lost Toxic now, so I don't know if they'll ever come back. But, you know, if there's other generations, maybe you could do like a Whirlpool and Toxic trapping set or something like that. That could be somewhat useful. Physical moves, well, they're pretty, you know, as you can see, they're pretty limited and stuff like that. I don't think you'll be using any of these moves. Maybe if you just popped on Extreme Speed to finish off Pokemon on 1 HP, pretty much. But anyway, that's about it for Suicune. In my opinion, Suicune is an excellent singles Pokemon. It shines best with its Calm Mindset. That's its bread and butter, and it works very, very well set up on the right, you know, sort of teams there for sure. So big defensive stat, big health stat, and Calm Mind always is pretty nice. And especially being just water type, it works great. Anyway, if you've got any other sets to add to that, put them below in the comments. If you enjoyed this, it helped you out, drop a like, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.